and dogs, so don't forget your local genealogy society. That's what we're here for. We like to help people. And did you know that overall, with all the agencies that sent children to Canada, there was over 100,000 children? Okay. So they estimate that's between 1869 and 1939, 100,000 children. So now they figure that about 12% of the population of Canada is descended from these kids. So given this number and some Statistics Canada population figures, probably over 3.4 million current day Canadians are descended from these first kids that came out. But there was an ulterior motive here on the child migration movement. Besides the philanthropic ideal of providing a better life for these children, in the late 19th century, it cost about £12 or 28 Canadian to keep a child in care per year. But a one-time fee of about £15 or $35 Canadian would send that child abroad and eliminate the burden on the homeland. And further research has also found that the Canadian government paid a bounty to get these kids. So, anyways, from the first group of children that Quarrier sent out in 1872, he continued to send them until 1897. And then that year, Ontario passed an act to regulate immigration. And it incensed him so much, he just suspended immigration and didn't send any more children. But not all the kids that went to the homes were orphans. Many were from single-parent families who were too poor or too sick to care for them, as was the situation in my father's case. His mother had died when the youngest child was born. She was 33 when she died of measles in December. She had 10 children at home. Their father, this was his second wife, he was at least twice her age, and he had a stroke and couldn't look after the farm or keep up his trade as a shoemaker. So two of the older boys, they were working on nearby farms. There was one that was going to be ready to go in a year. So it was the middle children that were sent off to Quarriers because they couldn't send the baby, he was too young. And the aunt and uncle of mine from my grandfather's first marriage, who took over the farm, they turned around and he took a shine to my father's older brother, so he was the one that got to stay, and it was my dad that got to Quarriers instead. But then if my dad didn't go to Quarriers, he wouldn't have met my mother, and then I wouldn't be here talking to you tonight. Now, this is a cute story. I don't know, do any of you know Davy Donaldson, or did you know Davy Donaldson? You knew Davy?
Lived in north of Brockville?
Yeah, yeah.
He coached us playing ball.
Oh, did he?
Yes.
He worked on my husband's grandfather's farm, too. Anyway, the year was 1926, and there was someone from the organization came around and would ask the kids, did they want to go to Canada? And Davy said, of course I want to go to Canada. Yeah. All his other friends from the cottage he was in the village had gone, and other boys that he knew from the village, they'd all gone. He said, oh yeah, I want to go. So he was told to button his coat up. When Davy buttoned his coat, he started at this button and went down. His immigration was put off until the following year, 1927. And probably any of you that are members of the local genealogy society, you know that there's the headstone in the cemetery just west of Brockville on the south side of number 2. And it was erected by the boys and girls of Fairno in memory of their companions. Now Dale Trickey, who I think he still works for the cemeteries, he let us see the burial records for this one plot. Most of the children that died of diseases of the time. There's consumption, typhoid, meningitis, kidney and heart disease. Before kids met up with a very different fate. Jemima Riddell died on July 14, 1896, as a result of an accidental gunshot wound. According to the Evening Recorder, Jemima was working for a family near Kingston when the accident took place. She was shot and killed by a farmhand who had just shouldered a half-cocked shotgun he was going to use to kill a chicken hawk. A brief note in the Quarrier's files reads, Jemima was accidentally shot in Canada. A note in Alfred Dodd's Quarriers file reads, Alfred died at hospital in Brockville as a result of an accident. Said to be a nice Christian lad. We haven't been able to figure out what kind of an accident it was. We haven't dug that far yet. George Wheeler, he died on December 16th, 1898, from injuries sustained when he was hit by a train. The note in his file reads, George was accidentally killed when crossing the Grand Trunk Railway near Lansdowne on 14th December 1898, buried in Brockville. And poor William Burns, he died the summer of his arrival. He drowned June 21st, 1905. A note in his file reads, word received from Canada that William died on 20th June. The people he was with and some neighbors had spent the day picnicking at Rideau Lake, and Willie was with them. He had, after dinner, left the party and gone for a bathe, and the others returning from their row saw his clothes on the bank and searched for him. They found his body in deep water, and it is supposed he got beyond his depth and was unable to swim, or else cramp had seized him. His employer spoke very highly of him. And as I read those files, I couldn't help but sympathize for these children who died so far from their homeland and were essentially alone. While they may have been highly regarded by those who knew them, were they ever considered to be anything more than an employee, an immigrant, an outsider? Now, the last group of pages in your handouts are samples of what you could expect to receive from Quarriers. I used my dad's family as an example. The first being the ledger that names the children, the date they went in, some of the family circumstances, and this is where it gets neat, because you will get names from here, so if you didn't have any information beyond the point of your Quarrier child, because most of them didn't want to speak of that, you can find things out there. Father John Robertson. Mother was Margaret Robertson, maiden surname MacDonald. Other children's names. Maternal grandmother was listed in here. Paternal aunt. One of the uncles. So it can be a wealth of information if you know what when you see it, what you're looking for. However, I hit the mother load when I got to Quarriers, because not only did I get that, I got the actual form of application for my father and his siblings, and 2 original birth certificates for my uncles. And when I went in '93, anything I didn't already have, the archivist at the time, Bill Dunbar, he showed it to me. He said, if you don't have anything there, let me know and I'll copy it for you. So I come home with another big stack of paper. But yeah, the form of application, there's, I only copied 3 pages because the other page was all folded up like a legal document, and this portion had the name of the child, when they were admitted and when they were sent to Canada. But it's got the child's name, the father's name, the family circumstances, other relatives, and a medical report at the very end. But it didn't stop there. Like I said, I hit the mother load. I even got Fairno home visitation records. Report on child visited August 1930th by Mr. C.A. Winters. Robert Robertson, age 17, immigrated 1930, residing with Mr. Bryce McNeil since June 18th, 1930, or to Lansdowne. And the terms were $13 and $8. This is a very prosperous and kindly home. The farm is operated by 2 young men, and the home kept by the sister. Mr. McNeil is very much satisfied with the boy. In fact, he states he's very much better than he expected to get. They like him particularly because his being clean about his person and around the house, and also because he takes to the work readily and is most dependable. A magnificently commodious and well-equipped barn has recently been erected. Robert is much happier here than his former place, and has nothing but the best to say of these young people. Originally, he was with the Hudsons, who have Burnbrae Farms. And then there was another one that talks more about the farm, the most magnificent buildings and every equipment found on the average prosperous farm. They speak very well. Same happy relationships still prevail. And then the kicker, the very last one, Robertson, emigrated in 1930, is now all of a sudden residing with Mr. Pat Travis at R2 Prescott. The above mentioned has recently gone to this home. That's all it says. All I know is he didn't like it. Now that 2010 has been designated the year of the home child. Last Thursday night, they had the reception at Libraries and Archives Canada, and my husband and I attended. The MC of the evening, MP Philip McColeman for Brand, revealed that his uncle was a home child. Senator St. Germain, who was the keynote speaker, his maternal grandmother was a home child. Along with the senator, Douglas Jones, of Canada Post, unveiled a stamp. Well, Douglas Jones also had a home child in his family background. After they unveiled the stamp, and I've got a poster here of what the stamp looks like, and we have an actual stamp in the folder, we screened the movie Childhood Lost, the story of Canada's home children. Stories told by some of these people were absolutely heartbreaking. One woman recalled her first Christmas in Canada. Along with the family's own children, she was called out of bed in the morning. Come and see what Santa left in your stocking. Come on, kids, come on, let's all go down. Come on, you too, Annie. As she went down, the other kids were pulling oranges and apples and sweets out of their stockings. She pulled out potato peels and chicken legs. She was told, you were a bad girl this year, that's why Santa didn't come to you. And Kenneth Bagnall, who authored the story, The Little Immigrants, he relayed some of the stories of children as well. And one really disturbing one was a boy who was forced to sleep in the doghouse with the dog. If the dog didn't eat all the food, the boy got enough to eat. Otherwise, he went hungry. He was also beaten on a regular basis when he was with his family. Thankfully, he got away from there. And years later, when Kenneth Bagnall was interviewing him, he said, well, how did you make out? He said, well, I did all right. I had a bed to sleep in, I got enough to eat, and they didn't beat me. Gordon Brown has apologized to the home children on behalf of the British government. Australia has apologized. Canada? Not yet. But is it too late? Probably. Would it be a hollow and unmeaning apology now? Quite likely, because the kids that needed to hear the apology aren't around to hear it. But at least we got them to put together a stamp commemorating the year of the home child and declare this the year of the home child. And the very last page of the handout is addresses of where to contact people for information. And that's it.